Jai Hind, ladies and gentlemen. Today let us discuss in detail about the so-called Ukraine crisis everyone is already known about. If we were to talk about it in the contemporary scenario, it is much more drastic, it is much more escalated than what was actually just a month ago. So let us start the topic with very brief introductions about the concerned organizations involved in this crisis. What is NATO? NATO is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It is an intergovernmental military alliance that was formed in 1949 based on the North Atlantic Treaty as a sort of deterrence against the communism, or more precisely you can call it as against the Soviet Republic Union, that is the Soviet Union, and it was formed to preserve the independence and the existence of its member countries. So currently NATO has around 30 member countries, exactly 30 member countries, including key countries like Germany, France, USA, and the most recently being the Baltic states, the Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, right? So these countries are actually have been actually moving eastwards towards Russia. In a way, they are encircling Russia on its western borders, on the Russia's western borders, right? So the most recent one, the actual, you can say, cause of the war was what? It was the Ukraine. Why is it called the Ukraine crisis? The new president, the latest president of Ukraine, Volodimir Zelensky, agreed to the Western propaganda to join NATO. It was his major risk he took that has turned this crisis into a great war. That is going to be a sort of nuclear war maybe in the upcoming times. So he agreed to actually have talks with the NATO alliance to get added into the NATO as a member country. Now that was not possible. Why is it so? To understand this, let us understand this concept in the Indian context. Suppose our territory is India, everyone knows about that. If, supposing, China forms a military alliance against India, such as hypothetically speaking, including Afghanistan, and thereafter it tries to put on its weapons, deploy its weapons in Pakistan, or take it as Pakistan occupied Kashmir, then for our deterrence, for our sovereignty, we will have to attack Pakistan to not include Pakistan into its military alliance, because that will be a threat to the territorial integrity and sovereignty of India, right? So in that way you can now understand why has Russia attacked Ukraine. Russia had few demands to actually not attack Ukraine. These were basically that a written sort of, you can say, the referendum was asked by Russia that Ukraine will never be a part of NATO. It asked to not to deploy its weapons, not to deploy the weapons of NATO, especially in you can say Ukraine, and the Baltic states, or the states, or the, you can say, NATO member countries near the Russian borders. These were few minor demands, you can say. Had NATO or the US or the Western alliances, had they been actually met these demands, today the crisis wouldn't have escalated and the war wouldn't have begun. So these are the demands, these are the reasons why the Ukraine crisis took place. So I hope you would have got to understand why the crisis started. Now, what is the contemporary situation going on there? Just a month ago, Russia had confronted the eastern border of Ukraine, that is on the western border of Russia. There it had confronted and put on approx 1 lakh soldiers. And also Belarus, the country on the northern part of Ukraine, there Russia had plotted a sort of military exercise with Belarus, of course. So it had stationed its troops there also on the northern part of Ukraine in the Belarus country. On the southern part where Crimea stands, that the Crimea, it is a sort of island, you can say. It was the part of Ukraine, but in 2014 Russia had annexed it, and at that time also sanctions had been imposed on Russia, but that did not play a major role in deterring it. Thereafter, today, Ukraine has been confronted from the southern end as well, and the contemporary scenario is such that Russian forces are invading the Ukraine, and the invasion took place right at the time when the Winter Olympics finished, right? So since then, it has been 4 days that invasion has been going on. Firstly, with it started with the you can say missile attacks and the artillery shellings. Thereafter, after weakening some sort of you can say the Ukrainian forces, full-scale invasion has begun from all sorts of you can say cardinal directions. Of course, apart from the western side of Ukraine, where of course the Western alliances stand. So there we can see currently the Russian forces have entered the capital city of Ukraine, that is Kyiv, and on the northern part stands the Chernobyl city, where the you can say the famous Chernobyl disaster took place. So the world is at risk because currently the situation have been escalated to a nuclear war situation as well, because NATO member countries, the key member countries, are giving a sort of threat as alleged by Russian President Vladimir Putin. So the nuclear forces have been stationed to be at the stage of readiness, and the world is of course at risk now. In that context, India is playing a major role in de-escalating the situation. At the UNSC, India and along with China and UAE have abstained from voting for a resolution that was passed against Russia to stop the military invasion in Ukraine. But had it been passed, then thereafter, not much could have been done even still. But the sort of move that India is playing is favorable for Indian context. Why is it so? We cannot have the liability. We cannot have the sort of role wherein we can go either against Russia nor we can go with Russia, because we have the sort of you can say good cooperation, good relationship on both fronts, be it Russia or be it the West, including the leader USA. We are a Quad member, and Quad is necessary to deter China in the South Asia, and that is much more important than any other thing, because the sovereignty and integrity of India is the foremost priority. Thereafter, we cannot also go against Russia, because we all know it is only Russia who has been a time-tested partner and a strategic strategic country for us. Right since our independence, it has used its veto power in the United Nations Security Council, firstly in 1957 on the Kashmir issue, thereafter in 1962 also in the Kashmir issue, thereafter in 1961 on the Goa issue, in 1971 when we started the invasion, you can say, or to liberate Bangladesh out of the Pakistan, so it yet again used its veto power in 1971, and also in 1999 for when we did the Pokhran missile test for when India was declared a nuclear country. So right since our independence, it is Russia alone who has helped us and has proved itself as a time-tested partner. Not many stand the test of the time. So it is this time that we have to go hand in hand with our much trusted and reliable partner in the geopolitics. So thereby, I think India has chosen a very balanced and right approach, because its own interest is at risk, and we cannot go to have sort of, you can say, alliance with a country or a group where we have to move parts with the much more important countries like Russia. So in the amid crisis, We hope that the situations de-escalate with the rising superpower strength of India, and I hope the situation should de-escalate. Thanks a lot.